Welcome to Bandits Keep Actual Play. I'm Daniel. Today we are continuing my solo original Dungeons & Dragons campaign using Chainmail and Outdoor Survival, and we are focusing on the Rangers. So, the Rangers have had a very interesting situation here with this dungeon, and right now it's been about 4 months since they've been there. They are establishing a group of warriors, a small army if you will, to go take back this dungeon, or to clear the dungeon I should say. They're not sure at this point, although you are if you watched the last episode, whether there are orcs and bandits there, just orcs, or just bandits there. So they're going to go with the intention to fight, and let's see what happens. It is December the 26th. The foxes are back at their camp, trying to decide what to do next with all their treasure. The hero and the hobbit have been rescued from the clutches of an evil high priest. And the Rangers are kind of my last loose end, if you will, for this year. Now, I know when you're watching this, it's going to probably be deep into January, maybe even February. But at the end of each year, I try to kind of wrap up, from my point of view, what's going on in the campaign so I can reconsider and start fresh the next year. So that's kind of where we are here. The Rangers are kind of in an interesting situation. They had, you'll see I have Outdoor Survival out here. They start over here. There's a dungeon down here. Well, that dungeon, they had promised a cleric that they would, when they cleared it, to clear the third level of it, they would seal it, and they have a spell to do that. And, well, they went there, and they found that there was an entire tribe of orcs and an entire group of bandits there. And then some stuff happened, if you've been following this campaign. I couldn't play for a little bit, so I had to kind of send them back to home base to figure out what to do. If you remember, though, if you had been watching, somewhere around here on the map, there's another group of orcs and a Balrog that the party is also trying to clear out. Well, of course, the Rangers don't know this, but over here, we just played out, right? The orcs and bandits had a fight, and the bandits were victorious. Some of the orcs, 70 of them, have fled, so we'll see what happens with there. Are the bandits still there? I mean, that was 12 days ago, and we haven't even left yet. Of course, from the party's point of view, they think one of those two groups is still going to be there, if not both. So they've been preparing. And what they've been doing is they've been recruiting, and I was kind of looking in here and thinking about what they would do. They had 4 months to do this, because when they went back to camp, it was 8/28. So they've had plenty of time. I can kind of have the pick of the litter, if you will, of what I want to take. But I will involve some dice rolling, because that's always fun. And they're going to bring back a unit of medium horse, because medium horse are a good combination of being relatively fast, able to work as archers, but tougher than light horse. So we want to take anywhere from 100 to 300 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 100, and then we're going to roll a d20 times 10, and that's the rest of them that we'll take. So let's do that, and then we'll move across the board, and we'll figure out what happens. Now, as far as what's going on with the orcs and bandits, we'll roll all that up when the party gets there. Okay, so these are my special D10s that are D10s and D20s. So the hollow numbers are plus 10 effectively. So let's roll it out. 10. Okay, so we have a total of 200 medium horse with us, plus the party, obviously. We're going to move from here to there. And if we look at our rules in the original Dungeons & Dragons, a medium horse gets 8 movement points, basically, or 8, they can move 8 hexes and clear. But I believe parties over 100, including pack and draft animals, which of course we also have with us, incur a 1 hex penalty. Over 1,000, a 2 hex penalty. Okay, so basically our movement rate's going to be 7. We've got 200 medium horse, we've got the party, and then we've got a small crew, probably about 25 or so of, other horses, draft horses and such, to kind of, camp workers, if they will. Squires and stuff like that we're not really going to consider for any kind of combat, but they're just with us so we don't have to worry about supply. As usual, we'll take 3 weeks supply with us. And of course, I'll figure out all the math of what this costs, because that's also a factor, right? And we'll go from there. But I'll do that kind of math and figure out the finances off camera, because that's probably the least interesting thing to watch. And let's start our journey. So if you've never watched this before, I use Outdoor Survival in combination with original Dungeons & Dragons to effectively move the party across the board. Effectively what we do is we use the map from Outdoor Survival, and we use the rules from original Dungeons and Dragons. When I do the mapper part of this, we use the rules from Outdoor Survival, but here we basically use just the map. So I'm going to my outdoor encounters. This is in book 3. Okay, so again, we have a pretty big party. So we have a -1 hex penalty. So the way that this works effectively is that you have a movement rate, and that movement rate's based on clear. And then certain terrain will take up more movement. So for instance, the forest takes up 2 hexes. You know, counts as 2, I should say. So if I had, let's say, 6, I could go 1, 2, 3 forest hexes, something like that, right? Mountains take up 3. Crossing rivers not at a ford costs 3. Desert, I believe, costs 4 in OD&D, as do swamps. We're going to try to avoid any deserts and swamps. And we're going to use 6-sided dice to do it. So here we go. Day 1, we're rolling the dice. We are in the clear, so we have to roll first to see if we are lost. We're only lost on the roll of a 1. Okay, so lost basically can mean a lot of different things. I've had this conversation with a few different people. And basically the way I look at lost in most cases is that, especially in the clear, is that for whatever reason we couldn't go the direction we wanted to. We got held up. Maybe the terrain was rough. Maybe there was something in our way that we wanted to avoid, whatever. But effectively we're off course a bit. Now, what it does in OD&D is once you move 1 hex in the wrong direction, you can correct yourself. So first I'm going to roll to see which direction we move in. That's in the upper corner over there. 4 makes us move straight down. So we go 1. And again, then we can correct ourselves. We have 7 movement points. So I actually think it's going to be faster to go through the forest. It will mean that we're going to stop in the forest if we do that, but I think it's still faster. So again, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We stop in the forest. Now in the woods, there is a chance of an encounter on a 5 or a 6. 4, there's no encounter. Okay, that's basically it. So we don't have to worry about tracking food and stuff because we have rations, though I will track the days because we only have 3 weeks rations just in case something happens. So the way I do that is I just have a little note card and I mark the day that we started, which is December the 26th. And we'll just put a dash for 1 day of travel and off we go. Day 2. 6. So on a roll of a 6, we're not lost. We want to cross it here because it'll cost us less points. And again, you have to come in from the top to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we stop. Day goes by. We roll for an encounter. We're in the clear. There's only an encounter on a 6. No encounter. Day 3. Are we lost? We're in the clear. 1. We are. Boy, we keep getting lost in the clear. Okay, I rolled a 6. Oh, that's kind of bummer because a 6 makes us go diagonally this way, which actually puts us into the mountains. For whatever reason, we were planning on going to this forested area, but for whatever reason, we couldn't get in, maybe because of some tree fall, maybe there's a forest fire, whatever. We ended up going off course. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, again, I could go back down here, but since I'm going to get in the clear anyways, I'm going to go this way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we ended up in the clear, right? So we're going to roll to see if there was an encounter. A 1 means no, so the 3rd day has gone by. Next day, are we lost? We're lost again in the clear. What direction do we go? 5. Diagonally this way. 1, 2. And again, I'll correct myself. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We stop. That's 4 days. Day 5. We're lost again. Hold on. I didn't roll for an encounter. So there's no encounter. Day 5. We don't get lost. Again, we're going here. So I'm just going to keep going straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We stop there. Is there an encounter? There is not. That's day 5. We've gone 5 days. We can go 7 days, then we have to rest. Or is it 6 days? After 6 days of movement, you have to rest. Okay, so we got 1 more day of movement. Now, I do not want to rest in the woods, which is what's going to happen if we have to rest. So I'm actually going to rest now. So day 6, we rest. I still have to roll. When you're stationary, you have to roll for an encounter twice. So I'm going to do white die for the morning, black die at night. Encounters happen on a 6 in the clear. No encounters. Okay, day 7. We are not lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can't go the next step, even though I have 7, because, you know, it cost me 2 to get there. So we stop there. No encounter. Next day, are we lost? We are not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll stop there. That's actually on a river. I probably shouldn't have stopped there, but that's okay. There's an encounter on a river on a 5 or a 6. No encounter. I'm going to make a line under here of when we rested. Okay. Next day, 1. On a river, we're only lost on a 1. So we're lost. What direction do we go? 5. No, that's not the worst thing that happened. It's because it only cost us 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We get there. I'm going to mark off this day and I'm going to roll for an encounter. Because remember, hex is 5 miles. So we could encounter something in the hex before we get to the site. 1 means no encounter. All right, so we've got 10 days total. So we get to the site on, let's see, that would be 5. So on the 5th of January. Okay, if I did that correct. And we're in. So now let's just do a little bit of let's step back and do a little world building, world figuring out, if you will. We have this group of bandits here. And I think the first thing we want to figure out is, I'm going to use the mythic deck for this. The bandits, you know, were fighting the orcs, right? They were there. I don't imagine, like if I think about the world and how I run this world and stuff, I don't imagine bandits living in a dungeon, right? So I don't think they were there to live in the dungeon, right? I think they were very likely there to get treasure. And since they fought the orcs, oops, just showing you I'm shuffling. Since they fought the orcs, it's very likely they were there to take the orcs' treasure. And the orcs had some treasure. They had a decent little hoard. Though, 70 of the orcs escaped. So let's figure out, let's ask the oracle a couple of questions, and then we'll kind of figure out story-wise what's happened here. And since I don't have a perceived idea yet, then I'm just going to make everything 50-50 to start with. And 50-50 basically means you draw one card, and if it's yes or no, that's the answer. Unless I decide that I think something's one way or the other. And what I mean by that is something's more likely or unlikely. And actually, the very first question I think we are going to say, I think it's very likely that the bandits were just there to get treasure. So I'm going to say, so if it's likely, we can see that or not. If it's likely, well, very likely, I'm going to draw 3 cards. If any of them are yes, then yes, they were there for the treasure. So were the bandits there for the treasure? No. Yes. Okay, they were. So the bandits were there for the treasure. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting is, did the orcs, the 70 remaining orcs that left, because remember, they weren't engaged in a melee, if you watch that one. The orcs were firing upon the bandits with missile weapons at night. The orcs went to the bandits' camp to attack them. So did those fleeing orcs take with them their treasure? I think that's 50-50, so we'll draw 1 card and see. No. Okay. So that means, without having to pick anything else out, that the bandits got the orcs' treasure. So that was almost a month ago. The bandits came there for the orcs' treasure. They got the orcs' treasure. That means I'm going to say it's very likely the bandits have just left, right? Because what are they doing there if they didn't, if there's anything else? Now, there is more treasure in the dungeon, so there is a chance. So I'm not going to say very likely, which was what I would say. I would just say 50-50. Did the bandits leave? No. Okay. That's interesting. So now we need to know why the bandits didn't leave. So the most likely reason is that they decided to set up camp here and they just like where they are. But also remember that, again, if you saw that session, the bandits got most of their forces wiped out. So there's only like a handful of them. They are high level, but there's only a handful of them. So they could have A, turned into an adventuring party, right? Which that doesn't seem likely. Or B, sent out word to recruit more bandits before they move. That seems much more likely. So why don't we say this? Did they send out word, and we'll say likely, that they were looking for recruits and they have sent out word to recruit more bandits? No, and it's likely someone pulled 2 cards. No, not only no, but it's in a remote event. Okay, interesting. So again, this is a remote event for us, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Or maybe not. Actually, you know what? No, this actually works for us. Those 70 orcs left without their treasure. As I pointed out, over here, there's another orc settlement with a Balrog. And the bandits are still there, right? They didn't send out word, but they're still there. And, okay. What I'm thinking now is they're there because they think the orcs are going to come, the Balrog's going to come back, or the orcs are going to come back. Maybe they're sitting there as bait because they want those other orcs to come to them. Boy, are they that bold? That seems unlikely. So for unlikely, we're going to draw 2 cards and they both have to be yes. Yes, exceptional yes. Okay, remember I said before, bandits are not chaotic. Bandits are neutral. So perhaps this group of bandits is actually, you know, they don't like Balrogs and orcs, and they're trying to like cause issues. So they've actually set up camp here to draw out that other group of orcs, that other army of orcs, and that other Balrog. Huh. And maybe they just think it's safer for them to stay here so they can settle in and build a barricade so they know what they're up against, as opposed to going after the orcs. So if that's the case, then, all right, so let's just do one more check here to make sure that's what we're getting. Well, if that's the case with what they're doing, now let's go from the orcs' point of view. I mean, the orcs don't like that their treasure got taken. There's going to be a lot of them, and they know that they stripped down the bandits quite badly. So did the orcs go here to get the other Balrog? I'm going to say that's likely. So 2 cards and any yeses. Yes, okay. Did the Balrog immediately say, oh, heck yeah, we're going after those bandits? I'm going to say 50-50. No. Okay. So it's not immediate. So we're going to do some math, but let's say we're going to say he's going to do it because that seems like the most dramatic, excellent thing to happen. How long did the Balrog take before they decided in days? 6. Okay. So now let's do a little math. Orcs on foot are basically on foot. So anybody on foot, assuming no issues, to get to there, they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's 2. 2, 3, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to take them 12 days to get here. Well, actually, that should be 11. 11 days plus 6 here. So 17 days after this battle, which was on the 14th, the army of the orcs are forming to come this way with the Balrog. Okay, so now let me just do a little math to make sure I did that right. I said 17 days, right? That is basically the 31st. So let's move. I should have done that first, I guess. So we can move. Let's go back in time a little bit. I'm going to leave us here. And let's move our orc army 5 days. And let's see what happens. So this orc army is actually quite large. We're definitely, we're not 1,000, but we're definitely over 100. So they're going to basically have a movement of 2 now with the army moving. I still think their fastest way is to take a straight line as opposed to going up and around. So that's what they're going to do. I kind of feel like orcs would have some kind of a way to get through the mountain, but we're not going to worry about that. So if we do this, day 1, they can only go that far because they lose 1. Well, no, they got 3. Yeah, because this costs 2. And then day 2, they can move that far. Day 3, day 4, day 5. Okay. So on the 5th of January, when we roll up on these bandits, the orcs are on their way back with an army. So let's stay in kind of roleplay mode here, if you will, and let's decide how this is going to work out. So we know that these bandits are definitely out to fight orcs and balrogs, I guess, and to get their treasure. That's why they're there. So they're not like some forces of law doing it for righteous reasons necessarily, but they are definitely not like chaotic and going to form up with the orcs. They want to destroy these balrogs and get their treasure and stuff. Still seems a little weird they stayed there, but you know, maybe they were waiting for reinforcements maybe. Okay, even though I rolled no for that, even though I picked no for that, maybe they hadn't sent word yet because they're fortified themselves first, because they don't know how long it's going to take for the orcs to come. So let's get a little insight into these bandits. I'm going to use a deck of signs. I'll pull 2 cards. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's so funny. I feel like I got this one, the dragon searching before. So we've got destructive, wild, obscuring storm, dragon. I think all this tells me that while they're not chaotic, these leaders are basically, let's say, wild in the heart. They're basically, they want their treasure. They're out to get it. They think this is a good way to do it. And they're kind of callous about how they handle it. So that's going to actually affect how the party interacts with them, because the party's about to roll up on them. So let's see how that goes. Okay. I don't think we're going to need this really, but this is our chaos factor. We're going to start chaos factor 5 in the middle. And let's do this. So the way Mythic works, the way that this works beyond what we've been doing here, is that when you're about to come into something, you set up a scene, what you think is the most likely thing to happen, and then you draw a card to see if that's what happens. So we're on chaos factor 5, as I said. Looking for something to mark it with. And I think with these bandits being so wild and them waiting for the orcs, I think the most likely thing that's going to happen as we pull up with an army is that these bandits are going to basically come up and try to spy on us and see what we're all about and get some intel on us. And because they are bandits and because they are relatively high level and because they are a small group, they can probably do it. We're going to make some rolls for that. But so what we'll say is the scene is we pull up with our army setting up camp. We're going to send our party down towards the dungeon to spy. But when we do that, they're going to be sending their party. And let's say that we meet in the middle. So the army is formed maybe like a mile away from the dungeon. The player characters move towards the dungeon to spy very stealthily. The bandits send their people to spy very stealthily. And they're probably going to interact. So let's see if that is what happened. So chaos factor 5. Expected scene setup. 1 through 9, expected. Okay. So we're kind of moving up, they're moving up, and they see that we're not orcs and balrogs. So we're going to say that they step out boldly. Well, actually, let's roll. I'm going to basically roll initiative. Not for combat, but the party's white, the bandits are black, and that's who sees the other one first. Okay, the bandits see us first. And you know what? Let's do it. We're going to say the group of bandits is the hero figures, the ones that are 4th level. However many of those are, we're going to have to look. And I'm going to roll a reaction roll to see what they do to us. 6. Okay. That's actually it's not a positive reaction. Let me pull out the bandits and see what we got here. Because it's not an immediate attack, but they may try to like waylay us in some way with that roll. We'll check that in a second. First, I just want to see how many of them there are at 4th level. Okay, 4th level guys, we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Okay, so that's enough of them to actually feel like they could mess with us because there's only 5 of us. So with a 6, let's check 6 on the reaction roll again. So basically the way that 6 works, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of a, I think it's below, I'm going to treat them as NPCs because they're not just like random monsters. So we're going to look in Men and Magic and not in Monsters and Treasure. And we're going to look at the reaction rolls. Okay. So 6 to 8 is uncertain, but it's right just above hostile. So I think what I'm going to do, and this is what AD&D does. Actually, I want to look at Monsters and Treasure for a second to see where 6 falls there. Sorry, it's not in Monster and Treasure. It's in this one. It's in Wilderness Encounters, I believe, is the other reaction. There's 2 reaction tables in OD&D. 1 is for monsters. Yeah, 6 through 8 is uncertain reaction. So basically what we're going to do is AD&D does this, and I don't remember exactly how, and I don't have it with me, but I know that when you roll like uncertain on the low side, there's basically a % chance of a hostile reaction. So that's exactly what we're going to do, except I'm just going to roll it again, and I'm going to just give it a penalty. So I'm going to roll again with -1, and if we get an attack, then they attack. Otherwise, they'll come out kind of just, you know, bows drawn kind of setup. 4, -1 is 3, so that's a hostile reaction. So actually, these 5 heroes are going to actually just try to attack the party. All right, well, that was somewhat unexpected. They were sneaking, so I'm going to say they're not on the horses and stuff. They're probably dressed in, and again, because they're sneaking, they're probably not all armored up. We'll say they're dressed in chainmail armor with swords. That's the most typical setup for a NPC. Actually, hold on, no, bandits. Well, yeah, the hero types are usually, and they say, it's interesting. The hero types are normally in, like on heavy horses, barded horses, but I feel like that, again, if they're sneaking, they're not going to do that. So let's make a chance here. Let's say if the black die is higher, they're wearing chain. If the white die is higher, they're wearing leather. If it's a tie, they're wearing plate. Chain. Okay. I forgot what I said for a second. Okay, so they're wearing chainmail. Let me get out my gas. All right. Oh, we didn't know we were going to jump into a combat so quickly. So these are the Rangers. And I think for simplicity's sake, well, we're going to see. If they attack somebody that can fight on Fantastical chart, then that's probably what we're going to do. And they're going to try to capture them, of course. They're not trying to kill them. Okay, that's my Rangers. All right, let me move all this. I think we might need this again, because if they get captured, or even if they don't, there's probably going to be, you know, some negotiations happening here. I'm just going to move the mythic deck off to the side here. That did not go in our favor, so we're going to adjust this. I think when it doesn't go in your favor, okay, so I'm going to decrease it because it went. Increase it if it results in a character setback. So I'm going to say them attacking us as a setback. So I'm going to increase it 6. Okay. So let's keep it simple, and I'm going to put these guys in order like this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 5 bandits, and we're going to see who they target. They're going to use their short bows, and they're just going to try to rain down arrows. You know. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, 3 of them targeted number 2, 1 targeted number 1, and 1 targeted number 5. So 1 targeted number 1. So that's a hero. Number 1 is wearing no armor. So unarmored, and they're shooting with a short bow. If you've been enjoying these actual play videos, please do take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like that kind of stuff. Ring the bell if you want to get notifications. Also, check the description below. You'll find links to all the different stuff I use while playing the game, most of it anyways. And you'll find a link to my Discord server if you want to join the conversation, and also my Patreon if you'd like to support the channels. I'll talk to you soon.